Blog Talk Radio.
Hi, this is Nikki Chris
and Natalie Jean from Sisters in Music. Check out our new organization, www.sistersinmusic.org.
and our Sim Radio Network, home of our female-focused podcast, Mixing It with Nikki Chris
and Chatting with Nat. Come join the fun, because together,
we are stronger.
Hi, everybody. This is Natalie Jean.
And Nikki Chris.
And today on Sisters in Music, we have Cameo Carlson and Amanda Cates from Digital Divas Nashville. Founded in 2008 by industry executives Cameo Carlson and Amanda Cates, Digital Divas Nashville empowers women at the intersection of music and digital through networking, mentoring, and support. Divas is a platform for uniting and advancing the best and brightest women in Nashville, who are experts in digital marketing and promotions through a variety of networking opportunities and events. Let's give them a round. Welcome. Yay. Yeah. No, we like to feel comfortable and welcome.
Nice.
I
wasn't expecting all that applause.
Yeah, you know, our two hands clapping, like the four hands clapping, it's just not enough. You have to have it's just not enough.
Love it.
That's how we do here. So, Cameo, you're on now?
I am on now. Look at me with the, just in time.
Oh, my, that was perfect. See? That's why you get the applause. Right on time. Okay. Both of you can answer any of these questions or do whatever you want. So when was Digital Divas established and why?
I think it was 2008. And Amanda, jump in anytime. But it really started as I had moved from New York to Nashville, and digital was definitely still, it was important, but it was still pretty nascent. And when I moved from New York to Nashville, I was really feeling the good old boy stuff even stronger than I had been in previous times in the music industry. And so I felt pretty strongly that having a network that, basically it started as a dinner with a bunch of senior women who were in digital complaining about things. And then Amanda and I sort of formalized it a little bit more into how can this be a little more helpful and be a support network for women, because a lot of these women, almost all of the digital people were women, but almost none of them had female bosses.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
Yep. So that's actually quite interesting. And has that changed?
Sort of, I would say.
Sort of.
Yeah. I mean, even in just the what is that, 13 years that we've been doing this, now some of the women that started as junior 13 years ago have been in the business for a longer time, so there's a lot more women that are senior in these roles, I think.
Wow.
Yeah, but there are still, I work for a management company, and, it's still very much, white male driven. So I think you've definitely seen some growth in women in leadership, but, it kind of varies depending on what company you're talking about.
I mean,
still not enough, but definitely better than it was when we started this.
Yep.
Why are people so afraid of women?
Oh, dear Lord, really? I mean, truthfully, we got some power in those vajayjays, honey.
That's right. Yeah. Damn right. That's what I wanted.
No, you know what I think? I'll tell you something from my perspective, and Amanda may have a slightly different perspective because she's younger than I am. There has been a change that I've noticed that's very visible. That is, it's not so much about the fear of women, but I think one of the things in the music industry in particular, and this is true of a lot of industries, I can only speak of music because that's mine, but in the music industry, when I started in the music industry in the mid-'90s, I started in radio, which is already super hyper competitive. The truth is, we were not about raising other women up. We were basically competing for the one slot that they opened for us. And so there was this whole thing of, I'm not sure that it was about fearing women. It was also women being really competitive with each other. I have often said that some of the worst sexism I have ever felt in this industry was from other women. And I think it's not their fault. I think it was just socialized, institutionalized into being hyper competitive because, in radio, for instance, where I started, there was room for the giggle box on the morning show and the midday girl. And that was it. There weren't any other women that did radio on the air. And it was the same thing when I got into digital, mostly because tech was just all run by men. It was male engineers. And so the digital space was no different, even though it was really marketing all the time. I think that has changed dramatically, and I do feel like every woman I know is about bringing other women up as opposed to, sort of bringing them down or competing with them. But I think that that's part of it, honestly.
There's a lot of truth to what you just said.
Definitely. And that actually, it raises a question for me, because that's one of the reasons why Natalie and I actually started Sisters in Music, is that we felt that even though there's a lot of organizations out there, there's not enough where women are supporting women. A lot of organizations talk the talk, but they don't walk the walk, so to speak. So
yeah.
What makes your organization different from some of the other organizations out there, and that you're not just talking the talk?
I think Amanda and I are both. Well, we're active people that are also, when we started this, we started it from a senior position. We were fortunate enough that we were both running teams. And so we saw what even the women in our own organizations were going through, and we had been through it, right? And so I think for us, we didn't start it with this goal of, like, changing the industry. We started it with a goal of, like, here's a safe place where we can talk about things and we can network and we can drink some wine. And that was really the beginning of it. I think the reason that it became different is I at least felt, and I'm sure Amanda will say the same thing, very quickly it became clear that there was a need, especially for young women, to have almost a functional HR system to talk about issues they were dealing with, because maybe they were the only woman, or they didn't have anybody else they could talk to, or they were in small companies where they didn't know if things were wrong. And this is a professional industry that conducts business in unprofessional places, right? Like, we're in bars and hotels and clubs. And so there's a lot of gray area. And I think when you put young men and women in those positions, sometimes things are really weird and they don't know how to act or what is appropriate and not appropriate. And I think we felt like, wow, we have to be a little bit more about just being mentors ourselves and listening than just networking and hanging out, because there's a need for this that I don't think either of us knew when we started it that it was going to be like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep. Yeah, we've seen that too.
Amanda, don't you feel like we became like pseudo
well,
HR
we definitely
at some point?
We did. Well, for a lot of these small companies, and even just like, I was lucky enough that I did have female mentors in my life, and I didn't necessarily experience all the sexism that Cameo did, but I experienced my fair share. And I felt like it was my duty to sort of pass that on to the ones coming behind me too, right? Like, it's almost like I have to make their way safe. If they're going out on the road, they need to know what it means when they're going out on the road and what people will say about them if you're alone on a bus with somebody. And, how does that affect you professionally? And it just sucks that you have to have those conversations, but somebody had it with me and I had to have it with other people. I just felt like, if anything, it was about protection and making sure that, you know what you're getting into. You're like, your eyes are wide open, because I do think that our industry is vague for a lot of the reasons. For a lot of the reasons that it's fun, it's also some of the reasons that, stuff gets perpetuated.
So I think that's why we're different. We're not setting out to change the industry. We're setting out to be supportive, and Amanda and I both, we take that to heart, and we're very personally supportive and involved in mentorship and do all kinds of meetings and breakfasts and whatever people need. And I think that's really what it's about, is just we kind of lead by example on connecting with the women that are in this organization.
That's awesome. So, with all of this, one of the main things for us is missing, we love the collaborative spirit of things. So, what is a good partnership to you? What does that mean to you?
I'm so sorry, you broke up for me a little bit. I think it's probably me, but
it's okay. So the question I said, and Nikki and I, we both are into the whole collaborative spirit thing. You know, we believe that everybody's on the same level. We don't believe in the whole diva bullshit, because I'm not into that. I can't stand that, because they will be told one thing or another.
No pun intended with the digital divas.
Right?
All good.
Exactly. You guys are digital divas, which is a different type of divas. Now, we're talking about divas just as they think they're so high up, and then there's little people. We just don't believe in that. So what is a good definition for you? What do you believe is partnership? What does that mean to you guys?
Amanda, you want to tackle that one first?
I was going to say a partnership like with our organization, or like how we approach other women. I guess I kind of missed that part.
how you approach other women?
I feel like it's very much been about just kind of like the golden rule. Like, I just always wanted to do unto others as they did to me, right? Like, I want to treat others like I want to be treated. And so that's really kind of always been my approach to how we work with every woman that, comes across our doorstep or comes to one of our meetings, That's really what it's about. It's trying to, from a good, honest help each other and, know that that's going to come back as well. I mean, I think that for all that Cameo and I have poured into the women that have come to our organization, I mean, we have found amazing hires. We've been able to put people in really great jobs. The sense of community that has come from us just, genuinely reaching out and helping others, that comes back to you. Like, that's very, very, full of karma,
Amen.
So that's really been the approach.
Yep. That's awesome.
And it's a relationship. It's a relationship business, right? And so partnership means that we're building relationships. And I think for us, Amanda's exactly dead on. This is something that means a lot to us. It's really important to us. But there is a selfish piece, which is that if we can build a network of women who will support other women and help them find other places, they're going to pay that forward, right? And then not only do we look good, but we are kind of changing the industry one step at a time. And particularly in a place like Nashville, which is, lots of dudes, we can see that there's going to be real change. And that's impactful and not something that I think we set out to do, but it's great to see that every time one of our women gets hired somewhere. We get super excited.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and that's some of the things that we're trying to do too, is that whole, I call it the sisterhood,
right?
Sisters in music, type of methodology. But one of the questions that we had was, obviously you do a lot of mentoring, you do a lot of mentorship, you seem to have a lot of events and things like that. Besides maybe mentoring individuals, women in particular, or helping them find a new career path or a new job in a different organization, what are some of the other goals of the organization? Do you have any charity type of affiliates or goals or things like that you work on as well?
We don't really have anything formal on the charity side. I think, our focus, it doesn't cost anything to be part of what we do, which was intentional so that we could have young women that are still finishing school up through executives participate. Also because of that, it's not even a nonprofit. It's a negative profit because Amanda and I buy wine all the time. So it isn't something that we've really gone into. I will say that we have partnered with some organizations from time to time to do things. We did a big artist workshop where we brought in executives from all over the industry to teach, brand new artists about all different aspects of the music industry, publishing and, audio and all kinds of things. But I don't know. It's not to denigrate any charity work. I think charity work's important. I also think that a lot of other organizations can do a better job of that than we can. And so we're just hyper-focused on being there for women and supporting each other.
I will say
but
that,
I think you actually raised a good I'm sorry. I was just going to say you raised a good point, though, with workshops and things like that from an education perspective, because that's very, very important, because that is something that I know that the two of us have been getting. I actually even just did an Instagram Live the other day with somebody who said, she sometimes struggles being a self-managed artist to figure out, what she needs to do and who she needs to contact and those types of things. So that's important that you're doing those types of workshops or informational sessions, because there definitely is a need. I mean, even for us, even for myself and Natalie as established artists, I know I don't know everything, and I don't know all the ways I could be contacting people. So that's great that you guys do things like that.
Well, COVID helped that a lot.
Interesting pivot for COVID. Yeah, go ahead, Amanda.
That's it. COVID made us do everything online. So we did 1 or 2 wine sessions and realized, you know what? Now's the great time to pull in all of these partners that have been too busy to come to Nashville. We can just do information sessions. So we basically every month have been doing about some kind of an educational thing, and we allowed anybody to join, right? So it was expanded beyond our normal core group of people, and I think brought more attention to our organization than maybe we had expected it would happen.
Yeah, it wasn't that we didn't do any education prior. It just wasn't a focus. It was equal parts. We would bring in partners or people from the industry, but the idea most of the time was to bring in a senior woman to basically tell their story, right? How they got there, what were some of the struggles, what were some of the things that worked really well, to just kind of share. And then that pivoted into, just like Amanda said, real education during COVID, because we just, everybody was focused on the same things. So I think that our very first sessions were really, here's a hardcore deep dive on DSPs and consumption marketing, because that's what everybody was going to be focused on. And then that turned into, let's just, there's plenty of stuff to go through that everybody is stressed about right now, and that's something that we can do. And we've got a big list of women who have come to events over the years, and it's been great. I actually think it will probably affect, once we are doing our in-person events, what those look like a little bit more.
Awesome stuff. So what do you think, or where do you think we are with this whole female empowerment movement? Obviously, we have a long way to go, but we've made a lot of strides. So what is the definition of female empowerment for you, and how do you use that in your work?
I missed the last part of that question.
It's the whole female empowerment. How do you use that through the digital divas, and what is the definition of female empowerment for you?
I would just say it's the network and the support that we've been able to sort of build for each other, It's really having that person you can call when you don't know the answer to a question, or you don't know the person you need to reach out to at TikTok, or, building that real relationship so that we are helping each other when needed. It's one thing to not feel like you know what you're doing, but it's another thing to not feel like you know what you're doing, and you have 5 people that you can call and find out how to do it, right? And so I really think that support and, almost family, some of these women have been coming this entire time, and, they kind of turn into family,
Yeah, totally. And I think it's female empowerment is empowering anyone, right? It is about making sure that we have seats at the table and making sure that that young women coming into the industry know their worth and know that they should be bringing other women to the table. And we are now in positions where we can be hiring and those kinds of things. So I think it's about just understanding that we are equals in everything that's going on in this industry. We run this industry, and making sure that there's support. I mean, Amanda's exactly right. Ultimately, empowerment is support, and knowing that it's you have backup, right? I mean, it's easy to get torn down, and if somebody, even if it's not happening in your work life, and you're not getting propped up by the people around you, if you have other people from outside that can prop you up, or help you find the next job. I will say that Amanda and I are pretty good at that too. I feel like we're now we are HR for Nashville. Now when a job pops up, they send it to us. They ask us, who do you know? Who have you got in the network? Which is great.
Yeah.
That's empowering.
That's very empowering, because we all need that. Let me tell you, to piggyback off something that you said, I mean, when Nikki and I first decided to do this together, we noticed a friend that didn't really come out and say, yay, oh my God, it's so great, blah, blah, blah. I don't need the accolades. But, it's nice to see when your friends support you. Or I've contacted other female organizations that were just like we were beneath them. So I had a few choice words. I wasn't nasty. I just had a few professional things to say. And because I'm always like, but I thought this was about women and helping women and stuff like that. But you have to be at a certain level to be able to do this. And it just boggles my mind when people do that. So, with Sisters in Music, we have to go on our podcast, we share the music videos, we share everything for free. We do everything. Because we want to show that, yes, women can work together. We can support one another. We can uplift one another. We can do so many things together. We don't have to be on this competition thing. Like, even in my genre.
It's unfair, right? Like, it's really unfair that we are held to these standards that when we do that to each other, we allow all the men around us to do that.
That's right.
And it shouldn't be the case, right? Like, I should be able to look out for me, and that's all there is. But the truth is, if Amanda and I go into a situation and I'm catty and competitive with her, I just gave permission to all the dudes around us to be that same way. And that is part of what then doesn't allow us to continue to move forward. So we just can't do that to each other. We have to know that if there aren't seats at the table, to go back to that analogy, then we have to add a lease to the table, right? Like, you just have to kind of fight your way in. And I think Amanda and I, in being fortunate and in this industry for a long time and at the positions that we're in, we get that. So we know we have to bring people up with us.
Right. And
we take that very seriously. And now it's just, we have to keep moving that forward so that this isn't even a conversation down the line.
Amen. Good for you. I love it.
So I'm gonna hop around our question list. Natalie and I had a question list, but you bring up a really good point. I mean, do you think that we can get other women to support one another? Because we obviously both our organizations have kind of had, I guess, maybe potential roadblocks in that regard. I mean, what are the roadblocks that you see in allowing that to happen? Do you think it's just primarily like a competition thing, or?
I think some of it's generational, to be totally honest. I don't get those same conversations with young women coming into the industry. I think young women are already in a place of naturally supporting and propping each other up and wanting there to be more women there. So the only times that I ever hear that competitive thing are either when it's just a super, super male-heavy organization where there aren't a lot of women, that maybe then women start to feel the competitive thing, or if it's older women who I think had a different mentality. At least for me, I don't know about you, Amanda, if you see that.
That's my exact same experience. The young women that I'm seeing today just don't have, they're very much more collaborative. And I don't know if it's just because maybe those are the women that I'm surrounding myself with, or, you know, that we generally have that show up at Divas, that kind of thing, or the women that I'm meeting. But I'm just not getting that hardcore competitive attitude. Now, I will say that from my perspective, I think Nashville is a little bit unique. You know, I feel like things were a lot more cutthroat when I was doing business in New York and LA and even Seattle than it is here in Nashville. There is something to this small town community thing, because at the end of the day, you just can't be an asshole. It's going to come back to you, right? Like, the town is very tiny, and, you know, you can't just be throwing everything out there all the time. Like, you do have to
go to school
really
with
think
your
about
label rep, and, you know, that's the thing.
Yeah.
It is a small town in that way.
Oh, my goodness. Let's talk digital marketing and promotion. Let me tell you, during this pandemic, I have done so many damn webinars and conferences on social media platforms. I mean, TikTok alone, talking about, oh, you need to do 5 videos a day. Who the hell has that time? And then, you know, you got to post all the time. And, you know, Nikki and I are both artists and stuff like that. And sometimes I'm just like, I don't have anything to say. And then I'll come up with something to say. And it's a lot of work. It's just a lot of damn work. So if you're doing all this by yourself, I mean, what advice can you give on this, a little quick advice on this whole digital marketing promotion thing? Because it can drive somebody crazy. And I'm one that I don't use stuff like Buffer, because when I get up in the morning, whatever I'm feeling is what you're going to get. Because I do all these inspirational posts in the morning, and it's based on if somebody's irritated me, or if I'm feeling joyous, or am I feeling anxious, or I just want to spread love. You know what I mean?
I mean, my number one thing always, and this is like me putting the old lady hat on, because I don't give a shit about TikTok or NFTs or anything else if it's not about the art first. It has to start with the art, and it has to be genuine. The things that work and the artists that have longevity, that's what they're great at. And it doesn't matter what the platform is, and it doesn't matter whether you're doing it once a day on TikTok or 6 times a day or none, if that's what works for you. It has to be about your art and what is authentic to you as a human being and an artist.
Yes, that whole, I'm all for the authentic. I'm all for authentic. Yep. I've been posting about being real and authentic, because I think a lot of people, especially artists, shy away from being real, because I think in the music industry specifically, you know, some people think they want to fit the mold, that if they have to be this kind of person, then they'll definitely chart. But what people are missing out, and what I've learned, especially throughout the pandemic, is that people are craving the real. They are craving the authentic. They are craving somebody that can say, oh, my God, this artist really gets me. I feel like I could be best friends with this person. I got to follow this person. And then that's where, you know, you hook the person in, because you're just being yourself.
Yeah. And so far, nothing that has, quote, unquote, blown up on TikTok has shown themselves to be a real artist, right? And now, I'm not saying that won't happen. There's still time to tell. There will be something, right? But those are anomalies. That's not having a viral moment on TikTok does not make you an artist. Sorry, Amanda, I feel like I cut you off.
No. I was just going to say the same thing. Authenticity is what matters. And if TikTok's your thing, well, then make it your thing. But you don't have to be everywhere all the time. I talk to so many artists that are just overwhelmed. And I'm like, just pick one and do it well. The rest can come once your art is thriving and when you're doing your one thing well.
Yep. I'd love to hear that.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. I'm the buffer girl. That's why Natalie's the buffer comment. I use buffer.
Well, it has to be something. It has to be something that you can sustain, right? Like, I think the thing that drives me crazy, because it's not that I don't like TikTok or anything else. What drives me crazy, though, is that anytime there's a new thing that has a lot of metrics to it and a lot of big numbers, everybody wants to jump on that. And now every single marketing conversation starts with, what's the TikTok plan? What are we doing on TikTok? How are we going viral on TikTok? And it's not about, what's the story that you're telling in your song? What's the story that you're telling as an artist? Who are you? What are your goals? Like, these are all the things that are important to me. And I would much rather have a very small artist by the numbers that was telling a real story than to have, 6 million views on TikTok that are meaningless.
I love you.
Yeah, I like that comment too, because it's interesting, because I actually just read an article the other day. I forget who posted it, but they were saying how boring the music industry is right now, just because it is the focus on the same, same reusing beats, same stuff, same people trying to do the TikTok dances. There's no originality, there's no creativity, and so on and so forth. So I'm actually very happy.
It's a consumption marketing universe. That's it. And it will swing back the other way when live is back, because nothing connects to a human being the way being at a live show does. So TikTok is filling the gap of taking up minutes in your day. It's not filling the gap of filling up your soul the way that music does. There's just no substitute for that.
Yeah. Completely agree.
It's just
Natalie. I lost my train of thought. See, there you go. I'm being authentic.
It's just so interesting how TikTok just blew up. Obviously, it blew up because we're in a pandemic and everybody didn't have anything to do. I mean, I was even on there, I was working with this company, and they're like, we need to do TikTok. I was like, I'm out. And then I did something with my cat, who passed away in November, but I was using the cat as the weight to do some squats, just to do something stupid and silly. But the main thing for me with TikTok, though, is like a lot of people like to push other people's music. I'm like, no, we do that all the time, especially as independent artists. I said, if I'm going to push anybody's music, it's going to be my own. The only other person's music that I've ever done is Nikki. I did one of her songs on there, and just promote her and stuff like that. And for the Sisters in Music, we promote the artists. If they do an IG Live, when they sing, I take that clip and I put it on TikTok, or if they say something really interesting, I put that on TikTok, just so that people can see and meet other artists and stuff like that. But I love the fact that you say, pick one of the social media platforms and just, I like that, focus on that one and expand it and do great things with it. I do love Instagram out of all of them, because, you just post pictures. You don't have to say much. I mean, you can hashtag to death and then get people to come to your page. And then obviously you don't have to do things. Everybody wants to do a copycat thing. And then there's Clubhouse. Clubhouse came out. I was like, oh my God, this is so interesting. And then when it first came out, I was on it like 24/7. Now I'm like, oh my God, I don't have time to listen to these people talk all day long. 24/7, except for this woman. When she comes on, she can do a lot of stuff on social media, things, licensing and stuff like that, and she's been very helpful. I actually have her on the podcast. And Nikki and I plan to do something on Clubhouse. But it's just crazy how all these different apps are coming out for you to be on. I mean, even Twitter has, there's this called Spaces. Another person's going to come out with Fireside. At a point, there's going to be too many platforms, and you just can't be on all of them and try to maintain all of them. You would have to hire somebody to be able to do all of it. And as indie
artists, that's what big artists do, right? When you get to a certain point, then you can have a team that helps you just to make sure that you're in all the places where the fans are. But when you're getting started, you're building a fan base, and you're better off focused in one place, focused on the art. I think there's also a fine balance for social natives, right, for young people that grew up with socials, where it is a balance between here are pictures of my food and my dog versus your art, right? Because I've also seen a lot of particularly beautiful people that have built up a huge following on being beautiful and then don't understand why the music doesn't connect. And so it doesn't matter what the platform is. There's going to be niche marketing for every single platform. I think the important thing is to understand that every platform has a different audience, a different kind of audience, and a different way of talking, right? Like Facebook is a broadcast mechanism, and Twitter is a conversation, and Instagram is a visual. You have to understand what those conversations are to be able to do stuff well. And that's how you pick the one that you stick with, right? Or one or two that maybe work really well for you. And that can show a little bit of your personality, but mostly focus on your art if that's really what you're trying to do is market and brand yourself as an artist.
Right.
Yep.
It doesn't work to just take the same piece of content and same text and put it on 5 platforms. That's probably one of the things that makes me craziest, because then that's a lack of understanding on how you talk to people on each of those platforms, and that's where fans call bullshit pretty quickly, right? Like, you'll see big numbers and no engagement, and it's because you're probably not using that platform correctly. You're not, or you're trying to do too much, and you're just like reposting, and you know that. If I can give one little piece of advice there, it's exactly me stealing words out of Amanda Cates' mouth, which is do one thing and do it well.
Amen. I'm putting that on a T-shirt.
Yep. All right. I like that. Before we talk about resources and events and things like that, what's the biggest thing you think we can learn from each other? As in, like, our 2 organizations.
Oh, I think just different ways and different groups of women that we can support, right? Like, I want to know how we can support your group and, connect the women and what they can learn from each other or help each other with.
We can certainly help with that.
I like that.
I do too.
I feel the love.
I mean, it's called Sisters in Music, for God's sake. Like, we all have to be connected, right? We have to pull as many sisters in as we can.
Yes, exactly.
Very good point. Oh my gosh. This it's just, this whole women are very interesting to me. That's all I can say. I've learned a lot about women in the past couple of years. And then, I have some really good friends that are women, and there's some people that I've had to say adios to. Bye-bye, adios. Because I just want, I love people that are compassionate. I love people that are just real. Just be yourself. And do your thing. And we can work together. I love helping and promoting other people because I love seeing people happy. And I love to praise other people's successes. I think once we're able to do that for one another, I think that's a huge step, because that's the one thing I don't see a lot of people doing, especially women, is praising the other when they are successful in something a goal that they have tried to achieve. I'm always on all these platforms, and when I see somebody do something, I'm like, oh my God, that's so great. I'm not getting jealous. Why? I have my own stuff that I'm doing. I don't have time. And my thing is that once you see somebody else achieve their success, your success is just around the corner. And I think that people need to just start seeing it that way. I think gradually we'll start to learn.
Yeah,
I'll put you in, but there's something to the fact of, like, you don't have to put somebody else's flame out to make yours brighter, because we all shine brighter when there are more flames. And I think that that's actually really true, that, we when we're not competitive and we bring each other up. And I've seen it in my own, like, sort of career changes, is that in being in a position of power now, the thing that makes me most proud of anything I've done in my career is watching women that have worked for me go on to do fantastic things and work great jobs and become executives. Like, that is more exciting to me than any of the things on my own resume. And that is what a little bit of that goes a long way in this industry, and I think if everybody has a little piece of that, it's not about making yourself indispensable and holding on to everything you have and not sharing. It is about sharing with everyone and helping them develop relationships and develop into, great people and great executives, because then we all win.
Right.
Yes, that's my little statement. A win for one is a win for all.
There you go.
The one, the phrase that I like to use when I talk to other women and talk to other artists and things like that. It's one of our Sisters in Music mottos.
I like it.
Yeah, and one thing we've learned through our podcast from a lot of the ladies is that during the pandemic, they had a lot of time for self-reflection. And a lot of them were just like, I want to create music that makes a difference. I know on my podcast, at least, that's what they've been saying. So I think the pandemic was one of the most horrible things in the world. And actually, there are some positives, believe it or not, where people have really thought about who they want to be, how they want to be. Do they want to be more loving?
Yeah.
Do they want to be more compassionate? Do they want to make a difference? Do they want to be an effective player? So I love the fact that part happened, not the other crap, because it's been horrible. But there's a lot of good that has come out, and hopefully, in the coming years, we'll just see more embracing of one another and more support of one another. And I know, I was talking, I can't remember which organization I was talking to or somebody I was talking to. We thought about even bringing all of the female organizations together, maybe having a conference just to talk about how we all can work together, how we all can see one another on, the same platforms, the same levels, and just talk to one another. We don't have to be in this whole competition mode.
So do you feel that as an artist, you think? Because it's interesting that you've brought it up a couple times. And I'm curious if you're feeling that.
I do too.
How you feel the competitiveness come out.
I mean, I'm a very, very humble person. Like, if I get nominated or win an award or do something, I will post it about 1 or 2 times. And then sometimes people will come and they'll see me and say, "Oh, Natalie, I saw you win." I say, yeah. Okay, let's talk about something else. But people tend to think that when you've achieved so much success that you're in competition with them, and they have a different attitude towards you. I know I'm very outspoken. I speak my truth. That is the whole point of Natalie T. I'm like that also because of life experiences. I was very shy and introvert as a kid, and things have happened to me as a woman. And so I just don't believe in keeping anything in. Now, when I meet you, you'll get the soft Natalie. Now, if you attack me, you're going to get the other Natalie. They're still the same Natalie, but I just don't take crap anymore. And sometimes I think that's intimidating for other people. I just can't keep silent in a world that's so chaotic. It just doesn't work for me. And through my music now, I sing and speak my truth because I think it's important to be able to make a difference. But yeah, definitely, there's a lot of competition out there. Unnecessary competition.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to echo Natalie's words. I mean, I've even had it in, the past year. I've seen jealousy. I've seen competition, especially around awards and accomplishments and things like that. Even Sisters in Music. I know that there's, I've even experienced a couple of individuals and other organizations because we've actually reached out to several women organizations who just wouldn't even give us the time of day, which is sad, I'll say, right? If that was why I was making the comment. Don't just talk the talk, you need to walk the walk, right? So if you say that you're supportive and you're uplifting women and those types of things, and you're an organization that does that, you better do it because, isn't that the whole point?
No, there's nothing
right?
worse. There's nothing more vile than a woman that says she supports other women and puts all the memes up and does all the things and actually isn't. It is the most vile thing to me. And we've all had women in our lives like that, unfortunately.
Yep.
Oh,
but we're here to change all that.
That's right. We're here to make a difference, and we will. We will.
Yes, we will.
I love that. Well, we're happy to help however we can. It makes me super happy to have organizations that care about this. Where part of me is sad that we still need it in 2021. Right. It's encouraging that women want to do this with and for each other. That's how we make change.
That's right.
Exactly. One voice may not be heard, but millions together will not be silent.
Oh, that was beautiful.
Good.
Well, Cameo and Amanda, thank you so much for being the Sisters in Music Radio Network. We enjoyed having you. You guys are awesome. We definitely have to partner on something, do something together. That would be awesome.
We would love
great.
that. Thank you guys so much for having us and acknowledging but it makes me really happy.
Anytime.
Absolutely.
Anytime. You are the you're the kind of divas I love.
Me too.
You guys are absolutely divas. You are divas. You are welcome anytime.
All right. Yes, I love it. All right. This is Sisters in Music, and this is Natalie Jean and
Nikki Chris.
And we were with Cameo Carlson and Amanda Cates from Digital Divas Nashville. Make sure you check out their website at www.digitaldivasnashville.com. Until next time.
Hi, this is Nikki Chris
and Natalie Jean from Sisters in Music. Check out our new organization, www.sistersinmusic.org.
and our Sim Radio Network, home of our female-focused podcast, Mixing It with Nikki Chris,
And Chatting with Nat. Come join the fun, because together,
we are stronger.